Welcome to the Learn to RV podcast, where every mile is a lesson and every stop is an adventure.
Hey there, you are back at the Community Spotlight series on Learn to RV, and today I have a really neat guest. I have known Dani for quite a few years, and she's kind of a super mom and superhero for a lot of people out there. What she's doing in the RV world is kind of different than a lot of us. She's a full-timer, but her journey started a little bit differently than a lot of ours. And so I want to just kind of dive right in and start with, what got you started on the road, Dani?
Thanks. So I started on the road in the end of 2018 for our very first trip out. We rented an RV, we hit the road, we came back, and then we jumped into buying our first RV. We hit the road again. So it was technically our second trip, but our first maiden voyage with our new RV. We get a phone call, hey, you have cervical cancer. You have to come back and treat that. And I'm like, oh no. So we turned around and came back, went through treatment, got all that taken care of, jumped back on the road in 2019. And we went full time at that point, sold everything and had no looking back. I went on the road with two teenagers and a toddler at that time. We decided to hit the road life and leave the farm life behind. I was married as well, but he was working so much, so it left a lot of the chores around the farm to me and the children. And with my disability, we just were working to provide for the animals, never had time with the family. So we decided, let's get rid of this rat race and slow things down, as we only had a couple years left with my oldest daughter.
Right. And, I think that's so many reasons why a lot of us with teenagers do hit the road, is to spend more quality time with them. And so did your kids love it at first, or did they get used to it?
Well, we have a little bit of a traumatic background. So when we hit the road, we were like, not really sure how it would feel for us after the loss of Ethan, my 8-year-old who passed away in a car accident. So hitting the road felt a little awkward for us because PTSD is real, and being in a vehicle traveling a lot was real. So it took us a while to kind of figure out what is normal, what isn't normal for us. My youngest had no idea. She loved it. My son Kyle, who is now 18, absolutely loves it, plans that to be his entire life. And then my now 21-year-old, she did not enjoy it as much. She left us as soon as she could because she just didn't enjoy the road life at all.
I get that, but she's successful and thriving where she is now, and you've got 2 beautiful grandkids, right?
I absolutely do. So my oldest, Courtney, is 21 now, and she is married. I have 2 wonderful grandkids. And so I often make that stop where she is situated to be able to spend time with the babies. They are almost 3 and 6 months. And so it's super fun having them. It's a whole different lifestyle and traveling now because our travel looks different than it did before. I make sure I schedule in those visits so I can see them.
Me too. I understand that completely. But you don't even look old enough to be a grandma. So, there's that.
I am not
Anyway,
a grandma.
so
I am a Mima. I do not like the
Okay.
name grandma because that makes me feel old. So I chose Mima.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I got to be a Grammy when my oldest had her first baby. And so, so I, got to pick kind of what I was going to be. And I didn't want to be a grandma either. So I feel that. Let's dig back just a little bit. You mentioned Ethan, and I really want to go there because I think your story is so special because of him. And, if there's something where I cross the line, please just say so, because I want you to be comfortable talking about this. But Ethan is such a part of your journey and your story. I want you to be able to honor him. So let's talk about Ethan. You were in a really bad car accident, right? I mean, it was you too. It wasn't just Ethan.
Yes. We were in a car accident in December 29th of 2013 with myself, and in the back seat was Courtney, Ethan, and Kyle. We were on our way to New Year's Eve or New Year's service, service after Christmas in between New Year's. And we were involved in a head-on collision. Ethan died immediately. Courtney, on the other hand, had a severed neck. I'm sorry, it wasn't severed. It was a millimeter shy of being severed. And so thankfully, they were able to do emergency life-saving surgery on her. And Kyle did had some bleeding on the brain for a while. He had no vision, or he had what they call prism vision, which is where, like, if you were looking through a kaleidoscope or a prism, that's what he saw out of one of his eyes. And he had some ligament damage in his neck. So he's never able to play contact sports, which is really sad because he wanted to do football and he couldn't. And then Courtney, she was never able to follow gymnastics or anything like that because they had to fuse her neck, and an impact to her could be fatal. And then myself, I had broke both of my legs, my pelvic bones, every bone in my face, but God was so good and did not allow the breaks to go past like right here. So my jaw broke on both sides, right where it connects. And I had 4 different breaks in my jaw, but it never touched my ears. And I did have a traumatic brain injury, but nothing that left me with life altering. I do have some things like I have loss of memory. I can't memorize things. And sometimes my speech is a little off. But for the most part, I mean, it could have been way worse. I could have had no brain function. I spent 48 days in the hospital. 10 of those I was in a coma. And if you do want to kind of follow what that story looks like, I've been posting every day since the 29th on my socials, just so people can kind of see what that's like. It is 12 years later, and in a week and a half, I'm having another surgery that is directly because of the accident. The repercussions is such a dumb word. The continuous upbringing of trying to take care of my body after the surgery, they say will be lifetime, because after the accident, because I have to have maintenance surgeries all the time. And they just told me yesterday when I went in for an appointment that I'll have surgery again in 5 to 10 years to reconstruct something that they've already reconstructed due to not having cartilage in there. It's just bone grinding bone. So I live with constant pain, but I use that as my catalyst to support other families that deal with chronic pain.
And I love that your story is one of an overcomer. Like, you could have like just quit at that point, but you didn't. And so, I'd like to, just kind of talk about what that looks like for you in terms of going forward. Because, you mentioned you do a lot of things for Ethan, but you actually have like an actual like ministry that's like kind of built around honoring his memory. And so, like at Christmas, you and I had talked about you have an Ethan's giving tree. And so tell me a little bit about what you do at the holiday season for people on the road or off the road, people that you reach personally with the giving tree.
So the giving tree is just a small portion of Blue Jay Ministries, but at the end of the year, we right around about November, Thanksgiving time, we start asking around. We put up a post in our groups. We ask people, who do you want to nominate as a family that we can assist for Christmas? I'm not providing Christmas for Ethan anymore because he's not here. So this is my way of providing Christmas. Ethan gave his life to Christ a year before he died, to the date. Like literally the exact day he died, a year prior, he gave his life to Christ. And he wanted to be a pastor. And so I went and got my pastoral degree because I wanted to honor Ethan and I wanted to let him continue that legacy. And so for me, providing the Ethan Giving Tree is a way for us to provide a family with Christmas. And it's like I'm providing Ethan with Christmas. And I get to see the joy of other kids and families. So for instance, this year, we had a family who the mom's birthday was actually right near Christmas. So we provided birthday and Christmas, and we provided groceries for the family as well. And basically, I touch base with that family. I find out what their wants and needs are in that in their family, from the community or from them. A lot of times they don't want to tell us exactly what their needs are for the adults because they want to focus on the kids. But we do something a little different. Everybody usually just focuses on kids. We want to also focus on the parents. And so we provide gifts from the children to the parents so that they have something to open on Christmas morning too. And so that's really important to us. We provide stocking stuffers. We basically, if they don't have a tree, we provide a tree, anything we can. And that's 100% from my heart and then from our donors who donate throughout the year. Anything we have left over goes to that. And also, we put up a special giving specifically just for our Christmas time.
That's awesome. And so you talked about Blue Jay Ministries. You do a lot more than that. So you have Bible studies, and let's dive in there because you commit so much of this is a heart project for you. So much of this, you're not making money doing this. So, it's just your passion project, kind of like Learn to RV is mine. And so, let's talk about, what you do throughout the year and how your community is growing.
So, Blue Jay Ministry, again, Ethan loved Blue Jays. I have a tattoo on my back of a Blue Jay flying out of the nest into the cross because that really symbolizes Ethan. He really took on Jesus and flew. And so for us, that's why we have Blue Jay Ministries. We do so much in the community, potlucks. We do campfire ministry where we sit around a campfire after a potluck and just talk through what does everyday life look like as a Christian or maybe a new believer or struggles or Bible studies, whatever that may be. Every campfire is a little different because everybody's journey is different. And I want to get to know them. I really want to get in the trenches and walk alongside of them so that it's not just this, oh, let me pray for you and then you don't hear from me. I really dive into those. And then we do a women's Bible study. We have one starting in January, towards the end of January, and it is on a Saturday morning. We do this virtual Bible study because RVers, right? We're constantly moving. We can't get together for a sit down in person Bible study. So we do it through Google Meets where I'm able to just kind of walk through a curriculum for about 10 to 12 weeks with the same group. And it's a chance for people to meet together. We've had some people who came into the group, never knew each other, hit it off, and have made lifelong friendships just from that. And that's where our community kind of builds is through these campfires, through these Bible studies. But then we also have another portion of that is it's called Outside Out Loud. It's for our teen kids. And my son Kyle really takes that on. I know he's planning in March, he's planning a paintball event for teens. Anybody who's in the Orlando area, reach out to us. We would love to connect you with that as well. So outside means they do something outside, and out loud means halfway through they sit down, have a devotional, talk about Jesus. And from that event, we have had kids give their life to Christ. We've had baptisms. I will baptize you if I'm in the park and you want to be baptized. Guess what? Reach out and I'll baptize you, whether it's in a lake. I've done it in a hot tub. It doesn't matter. Like, as long as there is water somewhere, we will find it and we will baptize you and I'll give you a baptism certificate and it's legit. So ultimately, our heart is to meet the community wherever they are and really be the hands and feet of Jesus.
So let's go to, you do more than just ministry stuff too, though, because this past year you hosted a meetup. That one was called what? Hanging in the
Hanging in the Hollow. It's in Kentucky, Colson Hollow area, Kentucky. This will be a yearly event. We actually baptized 2 people there this year. We had church service. And we had a lot of people who actually weren't believers because it is open to everybody. We include everybody. I don't care if you're gay, straight, family, not family, single, old, young, purple, green, blue. I don't care. You are welcome in my community. And that is open to everybody. If I don't open up our community to everybody, then how do you really call it a community? You really need to call it a group or a cult. But we open to everybody because it is so important to have that community.
Right. And
So
that's,
hanging
the
in the
Learn to RV
hollow.
community is very much the same way. We want to make sure that that community is open to everybody. And so that's why, we love partnering with different, community groups like yours, in terms of like getting that knowledge base out there. But yeah, so at the Hang into the Hollow rally, did that right around Halloween, right?
We do it. It is October 10th through the 17th every year. So we have it booked out for years. And so it is in Kentucky. So we wanted to get everybody from up north kind of moving south in that beautiful time of the year. We had highs in the 70s, lows in the 50s. It was absolutely gorgeous with the trees. It's on a lake. So we did paddle boarding and kayaking and swimming and all the things.
That's awesome. And so I'm guessing community campfires, potlucks, that sort of
Oh, yeah.
thing too.
Yes. So it's a week long and we do potlucks just about every night. And we have the community campfire. This year we went and did some moonshine tasting. We went to a moonshine festival. We did a music thing. We have karaoke. We go out and see places, hikes, bike rides. I mean, it is really a diverse meetup, and there's a lot of downtime too, just so that community can build up.
When you hit the road, so I'm going to switch gears here a little bit, but when you hit the road, things looked a little bit different for you. And so, you navigated some big stuff on the road. You and I kind of got to know each other a lot better last winter as you were navigating some of that stuff, as I was watching the kids sometimes for you. But, that dynamic does change. So are you willing to talk about, navigating divorce on the road?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I was married previous when we went on the road. And then 4 years ago, we separated and I did navigate a pretty brutal divorce on the road. We just completed that divorce in July. So, it is very fresh that it's done. It took about 3 years, but it is something that happens. And I absolutely am willing to share.
Well, I think so many people just don't want to talk about, road life is hard. And so even if your marriage is strong, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's strong enough to manage life on the road. But you've moved on in terms of like, you learned how to drive the RV, you've changed RVs since then. And so, you've done all the things kind of solo with the kids. And so, let's talk about your day to day because your dynamic's a little bit different as a single mom, So, I mean, yes, Kyle's much older, but, he's not a parent, he still needs you as his mom. And so that dynamic has definitely been different for you than it is for a lot of us that travel with families with our spouse. And so can you dive into your day to day about, how that does look different for you since the divorce?
Absolutely. So I do travel with an 18-year-old and a 10-year-old. Yes, there's a really big age gap there. They are the best of friends, but they also can be the worst of enemies because, she's 10, he's 18. But as a single mom on the road, we did recently just switch RVs for the second time since I've been single. So, there's been a lot of different changes there. Kyle wants to work. He does have his own RV business. So a lot of times I have to plan like, can I get out and do something? Let's see what Kyle's doing. Is he able to help with Anastasia? Can Anastasia go with me? So our dynamic is a little different. We get up like every other family. We start with breakfast, right? And then there's the demands of schooling or the demands of managing Kyle's schedule because I do manage like his incoming calls and his schedule for him as he does RV repairs. So, I plan the day and I say at night, hey guys, we have this, and this to do. I'm about to come up on a surgery. I have a lot of doctor's appointments. So we're kind of managing that. But then we have to do school, right? So I teach, and I'll be completely honest, I teach everything but math because I suck at math. So Kyle's responsibility is math, right? He is phenomenal at math. And I'm like, hey kid, can you help me out here? Because let's just be honest, if we don't delegate to other people to allow that village to come in and help, our kids are gonna suffer. And for me, I was like, who can help teach math? Well, Kyle can. And then, I have another person who's in our circle who helps her with science. Maybe this person likes to do a lot of like experiments, and that's not really my jam as far as that. Give me theme things. Let's go like find rocks and all the things and make art projects. That's where I'm at. So we really have to do that. And then there's dinner. The Instapot is your best friend. If you don't know about the Instapot, you can go from frozen to full meal in 40 minutes. So we utilize the Instapot a lot around here because I don't like to go out to eat because it's very difficult with Anastasia's food allergies. So our day to day does look a little different because it's all me, right? So maybe you plan a campfire. Well, Anastasia's throwing a temper tantrum, or Anastasia's, wanting to do something different, and I need to be mom and I can't break away. Or Kyle has plans. Maybe I don't get to be there around that time, but it's really important for me that the kids know that outside of being mom, I also need to have friends. So sometimes it does look like, hey, you're on your own tonight. I'm going to go to a campfire. Dinner's in the Instapot, stay inside. They're 18 and 10. I can leave them. It's a little different than being with toddlers, but it's really important. But sometimes I have to reach out to people like you and be like, hey, Jen, I don't feel comfortable leaving the kids for this amount of time and I have to actually leave the campground. Can you help? And so a lot of it is reaching out and asking for help in the community. And so that's why community building is so important because we still need our village, even though our village moves, right? And so that's something that's super important for me being a single mom. But I think even for two-parent households, it's important to reach out and say, hey, we haven't had a date night in 6 months. Our marriage is suffering. Can we have a date night? Will you keep after the kids? So it's really important that you reach out to that village.
Absolutely. So let's talk about Kyle for a minute because he was an RV tech before he graduated. And so that's kind of a neat accomplishment. But, if people were looking for an RV tech, how would they find Kyle?
So Kyle started as an RV tech at 14. Well, technically he was 14, but he was a week away from turning 15. He got hired on to a RV dealer where we were and was able to get some hands-on training. And then he did start the RVTI school and then went through all of that, got certified, and now he owns his own business. He's been doing it for about 3 years. Kyle will be the first person to look at you and say, I don't have experience on that. I'm sorry, I can't help you. Here is a number for somebody who can, or find you somebody. So to find Kyle, you would go on social media and you would type in Can Do Mobile Repair and you would find our page there. Or you can give me a phone call at 407-285-3544. Where you at? And I'll tell you. We plaster a number
That's fair.
out there.
Well, and we'll make sure that his link is in the show notes as well. Okay, so let's talk about food allergies because that's something that we have been navigating for the last almost 2 years now on the road. And I know this is something you're so well versed in because your daughter has some major food allergies. And, so learning how to navigate that on the road is a whole new challenge. So what do you do that's specific for your situation? Because you're gluten-free, correct?
That and many others. So Anastasia is allergic to gluten, dairy, soy, nuts, and shellfish are her major ones. And then she has some sensitivities that, we try to monitor as well. Ultimately, for me, in the RV community, everything is around food. Like I've seen this common theme. It's almost like a Baptist church, right? Everything after church is about food.
Even hosting rallies, you have to be careful because the potlucks could have cross-contamination. So, I think so many people, I wrote a blog about this a couple months ago. I didn't think about it. As a non-allergic person, I didn't think about it until we were navigating it. So, how important those things are and how it's hard for my gluten-free kid to go to something knowing that she might get sick from whatever we're going to. And so, how do you navigate those things, especially hosting rallies? Does Anastasia eat at home on those days or do you bring specific food for her?
So for my thing, it's all about inclusivity. So this is what I do. I prepare safe foods for her, for everybody. And I bring it out and we have a section where that is labeled. This is the gluten-free, dairy-free, allergy-friendly section.
All right. So I want to dive into you and your life now because it's changed a lot on the road. and you experienced something last winter that you didn't expect to find. Can we talk about finding a new romance on the road? Is that okay to talk about? I
That
mean,
is
I was with you when you
absolutely
met
okay to
him.
talk about. I'm an open book. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I was with you as you lit up when you first met him, like, in Texas. And like, I think it's been a really good transition for you in so many ways. And so, you often are found, traveling with your very new found beau on the road. And so I don't want to share names unless you're ready to. But just so you know, like, this is an open forum time. So let's talk about finding love on the road because you've been through it all and you've been through heartache. And so finding love for you is kind of a beautiful blessing.
It is a beautiful blessing, but it was also hard to navigate. The kids and I came out of an abusive relationship. I was not expecting to find any type of love. I wasn't wanting to, but there were a group of single RVers that happened to be in the same park having a get together. And I joined some of these single RVer groups because I was looking for other women that I could kind of glean from because living on the road single is different. Unfortunately, some people are not secure enough in their relationship, so they won't invite you to do things together with their family because, oh, you might present a threat. So I found that we were being left out a lot, and I was like, well, maybe I can find other single moms on the road. And so that's what I initially started going to these groups for. Well, I went to a meetup. We went out to dinner all together as a group, and I met my current boyfriend. We have been together about 15 months now. And originally, when we got together, we were just like, I don't know what this is going to look like. He is older than me. He has grown children, and I have younger children. So we weren't really sure. We were like, let's kind of feel this out. There was an immediate connection that neither one of us really thought would happen, but it did. And so now what do? You explore that, right? I was like, well, maybe this is just because, I don't know. I thought all the different things, right? Should I really be doing this? Is this healthy for my kids? Am I taking away from time with my kids? Like the whole mom guilt thing was very heavy. But we spent a couple weeks together and then he went on to another RV park that was like 6 hours away. Well, I'm not going there. Let's see where this goes. We had we had phone conversations, we had FaceTime conversations, and then his birthday popped up. So we went down, rented an Airbnb instead of taking our whole camper and spent a couple of days there with him to just, see, is there still that connection? And then we decided when our commitments were over, we decided to go down to where he was. And so we've been in RV parks now for the last about year, traveling together, separate RVs. We still live separately. We still have my RV, his RV. Life is still done separate but together. So we navigate this water, right? Because I do have children. And it's not as easy as let's just jump into this. So it's been an interesting dynamic trying to make sure that we book RV parks with two campers. And, but it's
Right.
also been a blessing because it's allowed Anastasia to see the way that a guy should really treat a female. And it's been great for Kyle to see that there is a man around that is gentle and allows him to see that as well. So it's been a great blessing. It's also been a little stressful because it's hard, especially this winter. We are currently in the same RV park. However, some of our reservations don't match up because of the struggles, right? Of
Well,
getting
right.
to
Because we're all in the
reservations
South
during peak
part of the
season.
country. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, like, but you drive, correct? Like, you drive your rig and he drives his. So, you're traveling to different places.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Kyle has pretty much taken over driving our rig because he likes it. So I'm very thankful I do have Kyle, which is really good because when he got old enough to get his license and start driving, I wanted him to learn to drive because I do have a lot of medical conditions and I am disabled. There's sometimes like this upcoming surgery, I'm going to be not able to drive for 10 weeks. So I'm
oh,
thankful that
wow.
he's going to be able to drive. So it's a bit like I'm gonna be non-weight bearing for 6 weeks. Um, So teaching our teenagers when we're single to drive is great. Teaching our teenagers when we have a two-parent home is even better because you never know what's going to happen. So to have that extra
Absolutely.
security is really good. But yeah, I drive and I love driving too.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to kind of wrap things up, but I just want to say thank you for coming on. It's kind of an ongoing journey with you, and I know that, you're going to be writing for Learn to RV for some of the blogs, and we're going to get your bio up there. So if people want to reach out to you, we'll make sure all the links are always on the pages for that. But it's kind of an adventure, but community is an adventure no matter where you go. So thanks for coming on this week, and we just appreciate all that you do. We appreciate you just being so vulnerable with your life and kind of just opening up, because I think there's a lot of people that don't want to talk about, navigating a lot of the things that we've talked about today on the road. And the fact that you're there and a voice in the community that people could go and ask those questions to is super important.
I think it's really important. And I want to kind of close with this. If you're going through a divorce, I have talked to 2 people and walked them through their divorce that were on the road. If you're going through a divorce, if you're in an abusive relationship, if you need somebody to talk to that your situation is what we call taboo in this society, reach out to me. I would love to be in the trenches with you, pray for you, walk with that. And maybe faith isn't something that you're on, and that's okay too. We don't have to talk about faith. I just want to be able to be there for anybody going through any of the taboo things or anything. Let's connect, let's chat, let's make sure that you find community.
That's awesome. Thanks, Dani. I appreciate you. Thanks from the Learn to RV podcast. Thanks for tuning in this week. Watch for the next Community Spotlight series. That could be you. Reach out to connect at learntorv.com if you want to be the next featured story. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
Love what you're hearing? Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. And while you're at it, leave us a review.